What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 16 of the Triple Threat Talk podcast. I'm your host, Connor Ryan. We have a very fun episode for you all today. Definitely a more interesting one. I'm going to be covering the Friday, some of the Friday games, some of the Saturday, and some of the Sunday games from this NBA weekend. Again, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Hope everyone had happy holidays. Hope all of you are doing well. If you went somewhere for Christmas, hope you had a great time there. If you stayed home, hope you had a great time with your family. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. But before we begin, be sure to follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Triple Threat Talk on YouTube, and then at Talk and Triple on both Instagram and Twitter. I post nearly daily on Instagram. I post daily on Twitter, whether that be just live tweeting during the Celtics games, or if I'm just talking about just my opinion on what's happening in the NBA and everything like that. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's get into the positive side of the Celtics from this weekend. Later on in the episode, we'll get into the negative, and I'll get into my Celtics rant, I guess. So, yeah, let's get right into it. The Celtics defeated the Pacers 142-105 on Friday night. Jaylen Brown led the way with 44 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals. Peyton Pritchard picked it back up and got out of his mini slump with 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. And Jason Tatum also provided a nice 22 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. This is the balance of the Celtics when they are at their best. They aren't like many other teams where, like the Thunder or the Grizzlies or the Cavs. I guess the Cavs are the closest to the Celtics in the way that there's so much balance and so much versatility from their team that they don't just need just like the same player to go off and score 30 something for them to consistently win. That's how I feel about the Thunder, as much as an incredibly talented team, and I know that they're missing Chet Holmgren, who would obviously provide a lot of balance for them. SGA is their primary source of offense. If he isn't scoring 30 plus points a night, then you're asking a lot more from other players like Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort. So very classic Celtic game, especially from what we saw last year, where Jalen and Jason would be leading the way, not only just in the points, but also with the rebounding and the passing and the playmaking, but also especially on the defensive side. Jalen and Jason combined for 7 steals. I think Jason even got a block in this game. And especially against a high-powered offense like the Pacers, where you can't really like slack off on them, even though they are kind of in a slump compared to what they were last year. Tyrese Halliburton led the way for them with 19 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. Spicy P, Pascal Siakam had 14 points and 9 rebounds. And Benedict Mathurin had 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. This game, I would say a lot of it was just the Celtics from the jump. That's where I feel like that they play their best, when it's a combination of solid defense, but also just like their willingness, their just constant attack mode to begin the game, and kind of just maintaining that through the rest of the first into the second, and then having that big lead going into halftime. I think they were up about 20 something going into half, and then it just kept building and building off of that. No Kristaps and no Drew in this game. And I know Al hit some big shots. I know Derek White is finding his rhythm again. And I mean, when the Celtics are playing like this, and when you have a Jaylen Brown game like this, and Peyton Pritchard is helping out of his slump, and you can win like this, you win by 37, and Tatum didn't even score 30. Like those are the signs of like, hey, we know what this team is capable of. We know that this team, there's a reason why they won the NBA championship last season. Like, there's a reason why they went 16-3 in the playoffs. There's a reason why they went 64-18 in the regular season. This doesn't come easy. This is the Celtic basketball that the Boston fans know and love. And when you get results like this, then it's like you can kind of take the step back and say, all right, we know how we can play. We know we can play to that level. Why, as of late, have we not been? I know I'll get more into this in my rant later, but I mean, yeah, just a huge win to start out after a 2-game skid for sure against the Magic and the Sixers, 2 games that they should have won in reality. And yeah, I mean, when you have a performance like Jaylen Brown scoring 44 points and Jason Tatum being the utility man that he can be when needed, that just like they're an incredibly tough team to stop. And when you're holding a high-powered offense like the Indiana Pacers, who the way that they're going to beat you is from their offense. They don't have as strong of a defense as many other of like these top Eastern Conference teams. When you hold them to 105 points, that's a big win. And doing that while also scoring 142 points is a massive win. So overall, great win for the Celtics. For the Pacers, their offense, I think it was just like they weren't really hitting their shots. They turned the ball over pretty consistently in the first and second quarter, but it just felt like their rhythm wasn't exactly where it should have been. I can't remember if they played the night before and if this was the second part of a back-to-back. I think it might have. I can check that really quickly. But overall, like, Halliburton really wasn't hitting his shots. It was. They had a tough game on Thursday where they hosted the Thunder, and I know that they were up for a good part of that game, actually. Yeah, they were up going into halftime, and then they squandered the lead, and even up to start the fourth quarter. So, having a tough loss like that at home against one of the best defenses and overall just one of the best teams in the NBA in the Thunder, and then going to Boston the next night and just getting blown out by the Celtics isn't great. Yeah, 12 turnovers compared to Boston's 10. They got out-rebounded by 13, and overall, just the Celtics defense was much more present. 6 blocks and 9 steals compared to 3 blocks and 5 steals for the Pacers. So very much the numbers show that this was a Celtics win through and through. And it was a needed one for the Celtics. And just the Pacers need to get back on track. They're in a tough part of their schedule where play a back-to-back against Boston, and before that you play the Thunder, and then I think even before that on Monday they played the Warriors in Golden State, which they won, but still like a tough game nonetheless. So I think their schedule kind of evens out now, where they get the Bucks on Tuesday, which isn't great, so tough for them. But we'll see how we'll talk about how they reacted to Sunday's game. And they reacted very well. So Pacers are a very talented team. Like, if you had a core of Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Benedict Mathurin with role players like TJ McConnell, Andrew Nembhard, Isaiah Jackson, who I know is out for the year, Obi Toppin, who I know is injured or was injured for this game, and I know was injured for the game on Sunday against the Celtics, Aaron Nesmith, with an offensive playstyle coach like Rick Carlisle, that's a tough team to stop. They put up an incredible fight against the Celtics. It was the toughest series for the Celtics all playoffs last season. And sure, the Celtics swept them, but it really could have been, any of those games could have gone to Indiana's favor. I mean, they squandered game 1, and it took a miraculous Jaylen Brown shot to win the game for the Celtics. Game 2, I think, was the only one where it was like truly a Celtics controlled game and win. And then the comeback in game 3 and even the comeback in game 4. So the Pacers, I do think the Pacers will make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll be one of those top teams again, but they are going to be one of those teams that you're just like, that you don't want to face in your first or second round matchup. And I think a lot of it is just, you can't play with their pace. They are incredibly fast, incredibly quick team. And the moment you decide, yeah, let me try and speed it up, then I think that kind of shows like, oh, we are falling into the trap of the Pacers. An incredibly well-conditioned, high octane offense, and just like allowing them to play their game. The moment that you say, slow it down, go into the half-court sets that you know and that you need to go into, then that kind of throws them off their rhythm. Like I know that everybody praises the 7 seconds or less Suns offense. This is very similar in that aspect of shooters all around, but can also get to the basket with ease. So I'll talk more about these two teams again when we get to the Sunday slate of games, but we're going to move on. So next up, we have the Cavs defeated the Nuggets 149-135. Donovan Mitchell led the way for the Cavs with 33 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Evan Mobley, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Jared Allen, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. And Darius Garland, 25 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals. They're playing like the best team in the NBA, and their record shows that they're the best team in the NBA. These four, I would say Jared Allen, not as much, but Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland are all playing like all-star caliber players. I think Evan Mobley is one of the best big men in the league, and his development of his three-point shot and his playmaking is showing that the level of talent that he has. Donovan Mitchell, we've known, has been one of the best shot makers and one of the best shot creators in the NBA for a very long time now. Darius Garland, I know, while he did play in like the playoffs last season, you could tell he was just a step behind, and I think a lot of that had to do with his broken jaw and just losing a lot of weight. And when you have him fully healthy, this is the type of player that he is. And Jared Allen, I think, is that true like backbone of that defense. Sure, Evan Mobley and Spida and DG, they're all very talented defenders, but when you have that lockdown defender in the paint in Jared Allen, who is able to swat shots, grab these boards, and push the ball in transition, that's what helps you really win these basketball games. You complement them with players like Georges Niang, Karis LeVert, Sam Merrill, Max Strus, Dean Wade. That's winning basketball. Those are 9 players that you can easily trust in rotation, not only just right now, but in the playoffs. They're easily the biggest contender right now for the Celtics in the East. I'm sure you can call me a Celtics homer, but I'm not going to believe that the Celtics aren't the best team in the NBA until they lose to somebody in 7 games. Right now we're 1-1 with the Cavs, and I think we have a game in late January for the final game of the season. But when you have a performance like this, where you're playing one of the best offenses in the league, and like Jokic is Jokic, and Jamal Murray is finally hitting the shots, Michael Porter Jr. is shooting well, you need to match that offense. Sure, they are incredibly talented on the defensive end, the Cavs are, but what really sets apart teams is, can you play with the other play styles? It's the same thing. Ryan Hammer on TikTok, he always kind of talks about like the trapezoid of excellence with college basketball. And he says a lot of those teams aren't so much good at a specific style, but they are very well-rounded in all play styles. If your team plays fast, they can run with you. If you slow it down, they can defend the ball very well in the half-court set. So, and that's what I kind of think of the Cavs as right now, is like that team right in the middle, where it's like not every night the same play style is going to win you that game, but they're very, very strong on the defensive side of the ball. They have a lot of versatility and dynamic, just overall dynamics in the offensive side. And that allows them to get to the spots that they want to, set up the offense that they want to, and also pinpoint the matchups that they want on either side of the ball. So, I mean, they're 27-4. Like, I know nobody is calling them flukes, but it's just the fact that, like, if people didn't think they were a legit contender, like then or now, then like, will they ever? Like, they are. It's them and the Celtics as the top 2 teams in the East right now for a reason. But yeah, and I mean, for the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic led the way, 27 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 3 steals. Jamal Murray had a very solid game, 27 points, 3 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2 steals. Michael Porter Jr., 18 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Peyton Watson provided 18 points of his own. I know that they were without Aaron Gordon, which I think would have helped with kind of slowing down the Jared Allen, the Evan Mobley duo. But still, the Nuggets are just an extremely flawed product right now. I think they are an incredibly talented team. They have the 4 pieces that they need. Aaron Gordon hasn't been healthy consistently. Jamal Murray hasn't been playing up to the level that he should be. And Michael Porter Jr., I'd say, has been solidly consistent, but not getting the 20 plus points per game that he should be. So I'm not I'm obviously not out on the Nuggets. I think they're a very good team. I think that they have a chance to rise in the ranks for sure, especially with how much time left is in the season. We still have at least 3.5 months to go and plenty of basketball to play. But it really does determine like you need your best players to play well and be there for the playoffs. And if you don't have that time to have those four players like find their rhythm together, then I think that's when it's going to cause issues in reality. And yeah, I mean, Jokic is playing like the best player in the world, but we saw this with LeBron in 2009, 2008. It doesn't matter how many. It doesn't matter if you're the best player in the world. You got to have the trust and you got to have the reliability of the players around you. I know Russell Westbrook didn't shoot that great this game, but he's been playing very well for the amount of money that he's being paid. I think he's on like a veteran's minimum or something, like around like 3 to 5 million or something. It's very low. But I think the Nuggets will make the playoffs. I think they'll be a solid seed. I just don't have. They need to figure it out for sure. And if they don't, then I think that's going to cause a lot of issues, not only just for them as a team, but also management as well, for saying, do we need to make a move? And yeah, I mean, we've seen teams in the past that have over succeeded, a la the Miami Heat, and say, all right, we have the team. And then the team, a couple players leave, chemistry changes, and then they aren't the same team anymore, and the star player wants out. I don't think Jokic wants out of Denver, not saying that at all, but they shouldn't have been as complacent as they have been. They lost two of their best wing defenders and also scorers, and Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope over the last two seasons. And that hurts, especially when those are two veteran guys that could really help a team succeed. Like the Nuggets, we saw them win it in 2023 for a reason. And as much as people can say like, oh, easy path, like they took care of business. It's as simple as that. So props to the Cavs, and the Nuggets need to figure it out. But yeah, final matchup from Friday, the Minnesota Timberwolves defeated the Houston Rockets 113-112 in a very tightly contested matchup. Julius Randle led the way with 27 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Dante DiVincenzo, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. And Anthony Edwards with the game winner as well with 25 seconds remaining, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. A question on a little side note, or side talk, I guess. A question was proposed on Twitter and saying, do you think the phrase game winner is being thrown around a little bit too lightly? And I agree. I think yes. Anthony Edwards hit the game winning shot. Yes. With 25 seconds remaining. That allows easily the possibility for 2 possessions to be made. Not only just from the opposing team, but from the team that made the shot in the first place. I think game winning should be like 7 seconds or less. Like obviously buzzer beater is a buzzer beater. That's like shot goes up and you're either at like 0.5 seconds or less, or the buzzer goes off and the shot goes in. With this, I would just say it's a clutch shot. Like I wouldn't say exactly like, oh yeah, hey, like that's like saying like, oh, if you hit a game leading shot with a minute remaining and nobody else scores for the rest of the game, then my shot and then that shot is the game winner. Like, yeah, it's the game winner on a definition basis, but not on a actual like logical sense basis. Like, sure, it makes sense. That was the shot that won you the game, that made you get the lead, that made you overall just take advantage and get the win. No question about it. But I feel like the time aspect has to come into play when you talk about a game winner in certain aspects. Now, back to the game, the Timberwolves needed this win. They had a really good performance on Christmas Day, and they followed that up with a huge, I think it was even like a comeback win against the Rockets. Let me check. Yeah, they the Rockets had, I did not even realize this. The Rockets had a 16-point lead with about 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. And then Minnesota went on a 23-6 run to inevitably win this game. I know Julius Randle gets a lot of hate, and I know it's almost ironic that I'm saying that because I give him a lot of hate. I think a lot of that is because the Timberwolves were a bad series away from making the NBA Finals and playing the Boston Celtics. Do I think the Timberwolves win that? No, because I just think the Celtics were playing at an unbelievable level and were just, whoever stood in their way, they were going to just dog walk them. But I do think that they're figuring out their offense. They're figuring out how to play with one another. I do think, though, it almost should be treated like a Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown sort of situation. Obviously, start the game with them together, but kind of let each of them run their own sort of offense. And then in clutch time, they can play together because then you have two shot makers, I guess. And I think also the way Dante DiVincenzo has been playing as of late, I think is very promising. It is allowing their team to kind of rely on him more. Naz Reid hasn't been playing up to the level that he should. Jaden McDaniels, neither has he. And same with Mike Conley. I would say more so out of those three, the two that need to the most are Naz and Jaden, because of their age, and two, just because of their ability. I would keep Mike as like a pure floor general, kind of a Chris Paul, where it's like, hey, if you need me to score, I will try, but I'm not going to trying to initiate my own offense off of it. So kind of that aspect. But I mean, the Timberwolves are very, very strong defensively, but it is just like they have it's the expectations that NBA fans have given them. They need you make it to the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference Finals last season. You go through and sweep the Suns. You go through and go into a tough 7-game series against the Nuggets, and you pull that out in Denver. And then you just get squandered by the Mavericks. That's not great. And you decide, I know I wasn't sure what they were going to do with Karl Anthony Towns' contract anyway, but you just let him go. You trade him, sure, for two solid pieces, but the team that brought you to the Western Conference Finals, you had all the pieces still there. And then you get Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr., who are two very solid players, two very solid scorers. We saw them score at a high level in college, and you aren't giving them the opportunity to grow. You aren't giving them the chance to showcase their abilities. And so you almost have to question Chris Finch at times and say, like, why aren't you giving these guys the play? So I'm sure the Timberwolves will be all good. I'm sure that they're going to be a team that is going to be successful in the playoffs. But I do think it's just, I'm not saying their window is closed. It's just, they have a lot to figure out for sure. No question about it. For the Rockets, Alperen Sengun led the way, 38 points, 12 rebounds. Fred VanVleet, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Amen Thompson, 20 points, 11 rebounds. The Rockets started out very hot, and I think that they are under great leadership with Ime Udoka, but they need a true scorer. I don't trust Alperen Sengun. The same way I think about Domantas Sabonis is the same way I think about Alperen Sengun. Incredibly talented in the post, incredibly talented at rebounding, both improved majorly in their defensive impact, specifically Sengun. But if Fred VanVleet is your final shot taker, that's not a great closer to have. I think I like Fred VanVleet in kind of the role that he was when he was with the Raptors, more specifically the bubble year where it was Kyle Lowry's team, and then it was Fred VanVleet was that next option. Or it was Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry, and then it was Fred VanVleet and OG and kind of the rest of that team. I don't trust Fred VanVleet as a number one. I think he's a very talented shot maker. I think when he is on, he is one of the best shooters in the league. But the issue is he hasn't been able to be on most of the time. I also just think he hurts the defensive impact of the Rockets. You have such great defenders with Sengun, who's improved, as I said, Tari Eason, who I think was out of this game or out for this game. He was Dylan Brooks, who was also out for this game. And then you have players like Amin Thompson, Jabari Smith, Steven Adams, Jalen Green, even, who is very, again, flawed and inconsistent with his shooting ability. But I just think the Rockets need, like, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that Pat Riley is really going to try and trust that Miami rights the ship and gets Jimmy Butler back. But I'm shocked that they aren't looking at the Rockets and saying, hey, you got one or two young guys that, like, we'll take Fred, but we also want a young guy and a pick or something. And then you're like, all right, cool, give us Jimmy Butler. Like, that would lead to much more dynamic scoring. That would lead to a much better clutch shooter and kind of that person that you need in those late game situations. Maintain the defensive identity that Ime Udoka has propelled onto that team. And I think would just also give, like, kind of that heightened confidence. Because sure, Jimmy Butler may not be like a Luka Doncic in terms of scoring, but he does have a great mid-range. He's able to post up. He's able to get to the basket when he needs to. And so I think that's why I kind of see Jimmy Butler as the best fit for in terms of where he should go is the Rockets. But again, that's just me. I know Pat Riley is pretty brain dead and said that he doesn't want to trade him and is going to rely on free agency, which I think we've all seen reports that says, hey, Jimmy's going to leave during free agency regardless. So I'll let you work that one out, Pat. All right. Saturday slate, going to kick it off with the Knicks defeating the Wizards 136-132 in overtime against the Wizards. Incredible performance from Jalen Brunson, 55 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists. Cat followed suit with 30 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2, I think it was blocks. Yeah, 2 blocks. Mikal Bridges, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. I'm going to say it until it's basically beaten like a horse. The Knicks have a starting 5. And that's it. Like, Cam Payne is fine. Cameron Payne is okay. Jericho Sims is all right. They have an incredibly talented starting 5. No doubt about it. They have the best point guard in the East, in my opinion, with Jalen Brunson. They have one of the most dynamic big men in the NBA with Karl Anthony Towns. Then they have 3 like lockdown utility guys in Bridges, Anunoby, and Josh Hart. One of them gets injured, their season's kind of ruined. Tom Thibodeau has, I think OG, Hart, and Bridges are all in like all 3 of those guys are in top 10 of minutes. And so when you go into Washington and OG and Josh Hart don't play up to the level that they should have been, like, I know Josh Hart kind of picked it up at the end of this game, but I mean, OG Anunoby, 9 points on 33% shooting. Josh Hart, near triple-double with 13 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. But still, they had a total of 8 bench points. Precious Achiuwa with 3. Deuce McBride, who has extremely high expectations to provide for them off the bench, went 1 of 5 from the field and 1 of 4 from 3. Finished his night with 3, and Cameron Payne had 2. And so I know they're missing Mitchell Robinson, and I know that's going to help a lot with their defensive impact. But when you have, like, as much as the Celtics have an incredibly talented starting 5, what really makes them the Celtics is the contributions of Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Al Horford. It's those 4 guys that you can trust and say, these guys can get us 30, or 40. If Pritchard is on, if Sam Hauser's on. Like, we saw Sam Hauser against, I think it was the Hornets last season, when he had like a 30-point game because he made 10 threes, and he probably would have beaten Klay Thompson's record if it wasn't for him like rolling his ankle on a fadeaway 3 in the corner. And so I'm not worried about the Knicks. I'm not saying that. But what I am worried about is if one of them is out, a skid happens, especially if it's Cat or Brunson. If it's Cat, you might as well almost wipe their season away just because of their impact that he brings. And obviously he's providing more on the defensive side and grabbing more rebounds. But you can't replace that spacing, more importantly. So for the Wizards, I know Jordan Poole and no Kyle Kuzma, no Sadiq Bey, but he's been out all year because of ACL injury. But Justin Champagnie led the way for them with 31 points, 10 rebounds. Bub Carrington, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Bilal Coulibaly, who is continuing to impress me on an immense level, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. And a block. And then Malcolm Brogdon, 22 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists. I don't know about the Wizards. I mean, they are one of the worst teams in the NBA with their record. I think they're 5 and 24. They were in a tough position because I wasn't, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on this, I just wasn't very fond of this past season's draft class, and getting the number 2 pick in Alex Sarr wasn't very moving in terms of, I think he'll be a solid player, but the people, like almost the talks that people have about Wemby, like why is Wemby shooting like 15 attempts from 3 a game? I would like listen to those people only if he was shooting like Alex Sarr is shooting from 3. Alex Sarr is shooting 31% from 3. Just for reference, let me just pull up Victor Wembanyama's shooting percentage. He is shooting 36% from 3. So a 6-point difference, sure, but no, that's quite large, especially from 3. So when you have kind of this dynamic where you have these young players in Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George, like you have Alex Sarr even, you have these players who you want to be able to improve, but you don't really have a lot of the players that you would traditionally have to help improve them. I think Malcolm Brogdon is very good to have, but Jonas Valanciunas, I think, is great for Alex Sarr, but Alex Sarr and Jonas don't play similar play styles. I also think Jonas Valanciunas probably won't even be on the Wizards much longer. I think he's going to get dealt at the deadline, or before the deadline, that is. So I think the Wizards are really kind of praying that I think they're kind of praying that they get their next guy this upcoming season. Like, I think Bub is great for them. I think Bilal Coulibaly is great for them. I think Alex Sarr is going to be good. Justin Champagnie, I wouldn't be shocked if he's dealt. Malcolm Brogdon even. I don't know, but I just think a lot of the most recent Wizards seasons have been, how can you support Bradley Beal? Where I think this is kind of the first season in a while, or this and like last season, where you almost kind of are questioning like what is their identity other than a losing franchise? Like, what needs to be done to get them back on the right track? And I don't know honestly, but we shall see. Next game up, a team I really usually don't talk about a lot. The Portland Trailblazers defeated the Dallas Mavericks 126-122. I think this was the first game without Luka for the Mavs. Or no, this was the second game. Sorry, they played on Friday against the Suns, in which they defeated the Suns. But, I was finished watching some bowl games on Saturday, and I was like, might as well throw on the Blazers. I'll be honest, a team I don't really watch a lot. They have 2 of my favorite players though, Rob Williams and Delano Banton, and I know obviously some of the players on the Blazers, like I know of them, and I was just kind of excited to see the type of performance that I was like what do they bring to the table? And I was very pleased. Scoot Henderson led the way for them with 19 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. DeAndre Ayton, 21 points, 16 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. I think I saw a stat that was like, I think DeAndre Ayton had like 2 games in his first like 350 games. He had like 2 games where it was like 3 blocks and a steal. And then like his last 2 of his last 3 games, he's done like the same thing. So he's kind of stepping it up and kind of is reassuring himself as like a solid big man. But Mars from Player's Choice, I think, puts it best. he doesn't really have much toughness. He is incredibly skilled, one of the most skilled big men in the league, incredible touch, can shoot very well. Like, if you get him from 15 feet out, he's going to make the shot. It's just he doesn't really have a lot of like just that tenacity to rip through and get to the lane and get to the bucket. But still, like, if it works, like if he's going to shoot like 60% from the field, and then I don't really have an issue with it. Shaedon Sharpe also supplied 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. And then Anthony Simons, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. I know a lot of this, like, I feel like with the Blazers, they're just an overall really interesting team. I think Donovan Clingan was a great signing or great draft pick for them. I think Scoot is going to turn it around. I think it was like I just feel like G League Ignite kind of sets up players very poorly for positions sets them up very poorly for the NBA. And I think that he's going to be put into a position that is going to help him excel a little bit more and more. And I just feel like they don't have a lot of players with like identities, or they have like all very different identities and just don't really have the gel to mend together. Like, Scoot Henderson wants to play make and then score. Like, he wants to be like more of a Tyrese Halliburton. DeAndre Ayton doesn't really work in the pick and roll very well. Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, those are 3 guys that are very individual scorers who shot create and everything like that. Denny Avdia is solid and still very young. And then you have Robert Williams, who was out, Matisse Thybulle, who was out. And I mean, it's just, and Tumari Kamara and everything. So I just feel like with a lot of these, like a lot of the players on the Blazers, like they want to buy in, they want to be with one another. It's just tough. But when they do, they have a game like this where, sure, no Luka for the Mavs, but you're still playing the Mavericks, who without Luka this season have been very solid and very not an easy team to beat. So I think if they find their identity, it's very similar to the Pistons, where it's like they had the players, they had like some of the players, they maybe need 1 or 2 more. And the moment that they get it, they have their identity in place, then they run with it. I feel like it's very similar to the Blazers, and it was very similar to how the Wizards were relying on Bradley Beal all the time. The Blazers were relying on Damian Lillard for so long. And sure, when you have Damian Lillard, who's one of the best scorers in the NBA for the last decade, then that's really going to help you propel forward in terms of like what your team can do. It's a lot more flexible. You can get more defensive focused pieces. You can get a couple guys who may not be the most polished scorers right away, where I feel like in a situation like this, you almost need Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, Scoot to grow up a little bit faster, which doesn't really help their development. But if they are able to take their time with them, then I think that's really going to put them in a position to succeed. But Kyrie Irving was the player of the game. 46 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 61% from the field. Unfortunately, though, that was basically all the production that the Mavs could get. Spencer Dinwiddie with 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, but on 38% shooting. Quentin Grimes, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Daniel Gafford, 15, 9, and 5, with the 5 being blocks. Max Kleber didn't score. Jaden Hardy, 11 points. Klay Thompson shot 29% from the field. Obviously not having Luka doesn't help, and I know that they were without PJ Washington, and they were without Najee Marshall because of the suspensions. Derek Lively was also out of this game due to injury. The Mavericks will be fine. I'm not worried about them whatsoever. But when you have games like this and you are playing a very beatable team like the Portland Trail Blazers, you have to win those games. You have to. Daniel Gafford I'm not asking Daniel Gafford to come out and try and get all those buckets, but if Dinwiddie hits some shots, if Klay Thompson hits some shots, then this game flips on its head and it's going to be a Mavericks win. You can't be asking Kyrie Irving to go out and try and get 46 points a night. Is he a player that I would trust in the no Luka world? Yeah, I think you probably have the best player in that aspect. I really don't see who else you would want more to be like the one guy that is you are asking to do it all. it's Kyrie Irving. And so I feel like with certain things, like the Mavericks will be fine. It's just this is a game that you shouldn't lose. And people are going to be looking back and saying like, oh, like we didn't have Luka. It's like, no, the Mavericks, if this is the tough part about being a championship contender. If you want to be a top team, you're going to have to win those games without some of your best players. Sure, the Celtics are much better off with Jason Tatum on the floor. I think they're 7-2 this season, or 7-2 in the last 2 seasons without him. And it's because they're playing the lesser teams. And they know that they can give them a break then. But it is what it is. Mavericks should have won this game, but they didn't. Final game from the Saturday slate, the Lakers defeated the Kings 132-122. Anthony Davis led the way with 36 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. Austin Reeves, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 16 assists. And Rui Hachimura with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, or 1 steal, and 2 blocks. No LeBron James, by the way. The day I'm recording this, December 30th. Happy 40th birthday to the King. For the Lakers, I mean, the main storyline, though, isn't exactly this game. It's the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. In exchange for D'Angelo Russell, I think another bench player and 3 second-round picks. As much as I think it was right to move D'Lo, I just think it's now tough because then it's like, I feel like D'Lo has been the scapegoat for a lot of the stuff. I just think he hasn't been shooting as well as he should have been. He hasn't been playing up to the level that he needs to in order to make the Lakers a much more successful team. And I know Max Christie stepped in with 16 points in this game, and Dalton Knecht also had, I think, 16, or Dalton Knecht had 18, sorry. But now you make Austin Reeves clearly your point guard, which he has shown that he has the capabilities to do so. 16 assists in this game speaks for itself, but I just don't think it really solves their issues. Dorian Finney-Smith, knockdown shooter. He's one of the top 3-point shooters in the league this season. Shake Milton has the ability to score very well, and it was showing that with the Nets. But it's a Terry Rozier situation last year all over again. The Miami Heat thought they were getting a 20-plus point per game scorer. They weren't. They were getting a 20-plus point per game scorer on a bad team. The moment that a role player becomes a solid player, and the moment that solid player goes to a team with a bigger market and much more lens and a bigger focus, and you're asking them to do that same thing, it gets a little bit tougher. You don't really get to play the bad basketball that you want. So I think will they help? Yes. Are they the solution? No, absolutely not. I think there are just a lot of things that the Lakers need to do in order to get back to the title contender position that they are hoping to be in. But I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton are the 2 players that really get them back to the spot that they are hoping to be in. For the Kings, I mean, the elephant in the room of Mike Brown being fired, I think, is just ridiculous. Firing him after a full day practice, after media, like doing a full media presser and everything, and 15 minutes later, as he's on his way to the airport to go to LA to coach this game, and you fire him. Mike Brown brought you to the playoffs for the first time in, like, I think it was like 15 or 20 years or something. It was something ridiculous. Like, what? I get it. Mike Malone put it best. When they're doing good, it's going to be a Sabonis, it's going to be Fox, it's going to be DeMar. Those guys are going to get the credit. When they aren't doing great, it's going to be the coaches. And I feel like that's kind of a way that the Celtics are right now. But Mike Brown won unanimous Coach of the Year 2 seasons ago in 2023. He created an identity for that team. He helped put DeMar DeRozan, or he helped put De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis in the best positions that they needed to be in. He helped Keegan Murray develop the confidence that he needed to become a pretty solid shooter. Kevin Huerter to revitalize his career. I know the NBA is a business, but this was a poor business decision from the Kings. I think bringing in DeMar DeRozan was their big issue. I don't think it really helps them in terms of the modernization of the NBA. It'd be different if it was like Luka, or like De'Aaron Fox was the player level of like Luka Doncic or something, or if he was the scorer that Luka is. And it'd be different if Sabonis was Jokic, where he is able to knock down the 3-pointer pretty easily. And But with those three, the Fox, DeRozan, Sabonis combo, the mid-range is clogged up. That allows for no spacing, that allows for very little movement with the ball, unless you're running into somebody or unless you're doing like a motion play and everything like that. And so when you have this kind of sort of offense, like De'Aaron Fox, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. DeMar DeRozan, 20 points, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Malik Monk, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. And Sabonis, I know, ended with 14 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. Other than that, you aren't getting much. Keegan Murray shot 28%. Trey Lyles shot 25%. Like this isn't winning basketball. It's not. And like they shot 28% from 3. The Kings have more issues than people want to realize, and they had more issues than I wanted to realize compared to the beginning of the season. And it was just, we're seeing them crumble, we're seeing the cookie, and they got a lot of stuff to figure out if they want to go back to being a top team in the West, let alone even make the playoffs, because they're on a 6-game skid. They're 13 and 19. They are 12th in the Western Conference. For reference, the teams that are worse than them in the West are the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans, who are 3 not very good teams. So it's concerning. It's concerning to say the least. And I know Mike Brown will find a job. He's one of the best offensive minds in the NBA as of right now, but it needs to be figured out. Sunday slate. We started off with the Pacers defeating the Celtics 123-114. The Pacers responded very well after a tough 2-game stretch against the Thunder at home, and then the Friday night game in Boston, as I mentioned earlier. Halliburton led the way for them with 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Andrew Nembhard came back from injury as he was out for the first game with 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And Pascal Siakam with 17 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. They had 6 players in double figures. They moved the ball around very well. They were hitting their shots. The numbers will tell you that we're good. Everybody knows that we're a good team. We are 7-6 in the month of December. We've lost 4 of our last 6. And the most annoying part about the entire thing is just the fan base. You have, in a perfect world, every fan of a team would root for the team, not for a player on the team, because those guys, I think, weigh down the casual fan and really are the examples of a bad fan, in my opinion. Do I love Jason Tatum? Yes. Do I love Jaylen Brown? Also yes. Do I love Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Al Horford, Joe Mazzulla, Sam Cassell, Wick Grusbeck, Brad Stevens? Yes, 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 yes. I do. I love the Celtics. I've been a fan since 2008. I'm very lucky I started out with that year, but trust me, I saw the bad years. I saw the Phil Pressey starting lineup years. I saw the Tyler Zeller, Brandon Bass, Marcus Thornton, Evan Turner, Phil Pressey, Marcus Smart when he was drafted. I saw the early Isaiah Thomas days. I saw the Kelly Olynyk, Jonas Jerebko, Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart, Al Horford's first year days. Sure, you could say, oh, they were making the Eastern Conference Finals. I went through the Kyrie thing. I saw the Jays grow up. I saw the destruction of 2022. I see the Celtics. I see the position that they're in. I live in the same town as Brian Scalabrine. I've met Scal multiple times. Will they be fine? Yes. I'm not worried about it. They need to, boundaries need to be made. I love Jaylen Brown dearly. I love him. And I know his contract is a lot of money, but he needs to play like a number 2. He needs to be the number 2. Jason Tatum is too good to be sitting there with 14, 15 shots a game. He needs to be up in the 20s. And I get it. Jaylen for the last 2 games has shot incredibly well, and I don't really have an issue with it in that case. But when you have a game like the Philly game where he isn't shooting well, you have to change up the game plan. But my main thing is the defensive intensity. The numbers will say we are a top 10 defense, which we are. I think as much as defensive rating is great, what I also think it brings issues to is it lumps in everything too well. We had the offense for the Pacers on Friday night was abysmal. And the offense last night or on Sunday night was incredible. Our defensive rating for Sunday or for Friday night was great. Our defensive rating for Sunday night was abysmal. The intensity on which we play defense is so lackadaisical to what it was last year. The rotations look sloppy. The urgency to go at the ball, it is deplorable. It is lackluster. It is a joke. I don't have an issue with the amount of threes we shoot. I don't have an issue with who leads the team in whatever point. I don't care if Jason Tatum never wins an MVP. I don't care. Sure, MVP says you're the best player. It never means you're the best team. Never has. Would you rather have Jason Tatum's career or Joel Embiid's career? 9 times out of 10, you're taking the Jason Tatum career. You want the ring. You would rather have the ring than the MVP. For sure. That means more to most, I'd say to 99% of players and to 99% of people than it does an MVP. I get it. This is a tough slot. Like, Pacers are always going to play us tough. The Magic are a tough team. The 76ers, we got them fully healthy. The Bulls, that was a bad loss. The Grizzlies, that was at the end of a tough stretch. And it's hard for somebody to sit here and almost take this literally, because you look at it from the aspect of, you guys are 23-9, you're second in the East. Yeah. But what I have an issue with is the fans on Twitter that are going, oh, like I don't even care about the regular season anymore. And then like you have people going, I'm fine if we just coast to the playoffs. It's like, no. You want to know why we won all those games that we did? It's because we had home court advantage to start out every game or every series. You want the majority of those games. You want the majority of the games to be on your home court in a 7-game series. Would you rather play Game 7 in Cleveland or Game 7 in Boston? Game 7 in New York or Game 7 in Boston? Game 7 in Orlando, Game 7 in Boston. Philly or Boston? Like, Milwaukee or Boston? I get it. I understand people are going to say, it's boring. Would you rather be in the team that is boring and winning and is looking to repeat as champions for the first time in about 6 years? Or would you rather watch the Wizards? Would you rather watch the Pistons? Would you rather watch the Trailblazers, the Jazz? Because if you want to watch exciting basketball, go watch them because they're playing their championship every night. Like, it makes no sense. Jaylen Brown has a great game against the Pacers on Friday. Half of Celtics Twitter is saying, well, why didn't Jason get the touches? Celtics lose on Sunday night against the Pacers. Everybody is claiming, oh, it's because Jaylen took 21 shots and Jason took 17. Well, let's be real. Jaylen shot 62% from the field and Jason shot 47%. Jason shot 2 of 10 from 3. Derek White shot 3 of 11 from 3. Al Horford shot 1 of 10 from 3. That is literally 6 of 31. You take half of those away and make them layup attempt twos or just layups or mid-range shots or floaters or whatever, post-ups, probably 20 points right there. Celtics win that game by 11 then. I just think a lot of our times our offense gets stagnant. I think a lot of the times we get complacent on defense. We aren't going at the ball. We aren't trying to win. Sure, the Psycho Joe thing is funny. I love Joe Mazzulla. I believe in Mazzulla ball. I think I'm very much a supporter for the threes are more than twos debate. 100%. Psycho Joe is only funny when we win. And I know many people say, oh, that's just his mentality the entire time. I don't care. It's only good when it works. And it's not working right now. We've lost 4 of our last 6. And I know this is a skid and we're still 23-9. Let me put it like this. If we beat Chicago, if we beat Orlando, if we beat the Pacers on Sunday night, we would be 26-6. And we would be a game and a half back on the Cavs. We are 4.5. We're 4.5 games back. The Grizzlies loss, I accept. No question about it. The 76ers loss, I accept. The Cleveland loss in which it was just the free throw battle at the end, I accept. I accept a lot of these losses. The Hawks won to start the in-season tournament, I accept. The Warriors one, I accept. The OT one against the Pacers, I accept. There are going to be games that you just have to accept. Magic, we were up 15 at the end of the first half. Just got complacent. We got complacent against the Pacers, and we got complacent against the Bulls. So yeah, I'd like to have first place. I would. It's as simple as that. And it's not like the rest of our schedule gets any easier, because we play the Raptors on Tuesday, which I project us to win. And then we go on a 4-game road stretch in a week span. Go to Minnesota to play the Timberwolves, go to Houston to play the Rockets, which is on a back-to-back. 2 days later, this is less than a week. We go to Minnesota and Houston for a back-to-back against the Wolves and the Rockets. That Sunday, we play in Oklahoma City against the Thunder. And then we travel to Denver for Tuesday against the Nuggets. Sure, then we get a 2-game homestand against the Kings and the Pelicans. But then, later in the month, we go on another road trip, which this all happens in the span of 6 days. We get the Warriors, the Clippers, the Lakers, which the Clippers and the Lakers is on a back-to-back, and then we go to Dallas to play the Mavericks. Celtics need to figure it out, because if we don't, then we're going to fall behind in the month of January, and then that's just going to lead to bad things in February, which is obviously going to be a tough month, and we get a big homestand in March, and I know I'm looking ahead quite far, and March we have a 10-game road trip. Thank God we end the season with 2 games against the Hornets. Like, I would like to see the results. I would like to see them winning. I know Kristaps has been hurt. I know Drew has been hurt and has been a step behind from what he was last year. And I hear the arguments of, oh, they're going to pick it up in the playoffs. But what if they don't? You know? It's as simple as that. So, it's my Celtics rant. Yeah. It is what it is. 2 more games from Sunday. The Miami Heat defeated the Houston Rockets 104-100. All-Star season for Tyler Hero continues to show that he deserves to be on the ballot. 27 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists for Tyler Hero. Nikola Jovic, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Haywood Highsmith, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. And then for the Rockets, Alperen Sengun, 18 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists. Fred VanVleet, 16.7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And Dylan Brooks, 22 points, 4 rebounds. What a fight, too. Like, Amen Thompson literally just bodying Tyler Hero, just dragging him, throwing him down. Kind of shocked that Amen Thompson's getting a 2-game suspension out of that. I know Tyler Hero kind of initiated it, but it is what it is. I think the funniest part, though, is like 2 very similar style coaches. Like, I think Eric Spoelstra and Ime Udoka are like very similar in the way that they approach the game, but the way that both of them responded just showed the dynamic of the 2 of them. Eric Spoelstra was like, yeah, just shouldn't have done it. It is what it is. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to move on. Ime Udoka was just like, yeah, bigger guy got him, and he got thrown to the ground. One of them's a lot stronger. So it's just like the profession, like it's like the 5th-year senior doing media compared to the freshman doing media. I mean, this was another game without Jimmy Butler for the Heat, so a big win for them. But Tyler Hero has been the storyline for the Heat all season. He is not only just showing that he's one of the best shooters in the NBA, he's just becoming one of the best players in the NBA. He's scoring at all levels. He's playmaking a lot better than he has in previous seasons. And to have a game like this is huge. It shows like that when he is playing at their best, he is able to help provide winning basketball. Now, if Bam Adebayo is able to step up to the level that we know he's capable of, if Jimmy Butler gets healthy, then I think they're going to be a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs. But right now it's the Tyler Hero show, and I'm all for it. I think he's playing great, and I'm excited to see what more he brings to the table. And for the Rockets, again, this is a showcase of where I see a Jimmy Butler would fit perfectly for the Rockets. No one, like Dylan Brooks being your leading scorer, is not something to be happy with. Jalen Green shot 30%, scoring 19 points. Fred VanVleet scored 6 on 35% shooting. If your 2 of your high volume shot takers are not going to be consistently making shots, then the ball needs to get out of their hands. And they need to figure it out. The 2 of them combined 5 of 18 from 3. It's not good at all. So I think a move does need to be made for the Rockets. I don't know how much money they have in terms of cap space for free agency, but I don't know. I think I think if they're going to make a move, it has to be done soon. Like, it really does. Final game from the weekend, we got the Thunder defeating the Grizzlies 130-106. SGA led the way with 35 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, one steal and 4 blocks. Am I reading that right? Let me take a double check. I am reading that right. It's pretty ridiculous. J-Dub, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and Isaiah Hartenstein, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks. I know AJ Mitchell provided 17 points. Aaron Wiggins provided 16 points. I think this is kind of more of the balance approach that I was expecting from the Thunder in terms of their tertiary and secondary scoring value. I knew like their 1A, 1B would be SGA and Chet, and obviously they don't have Chet right now for at least the next month or two, or at least the next month. And so J-Dub I knew would step up, but even when he was didn't have the best night here, and I knew Isaiah Hartenstein would provide pretty solid offense, but getting this kind of reliance from AJ Mitchell and Aaron Wiggins, who I know also has been playing incredibly well, that's huge. I know the Grizzlies were without Ja Morant tonight, but I mean, it's just the defense from the Thunder. They only had 10 turnovers compared to the Grizzlies' 21. They had 9 blocks and 10 steals compared to the 4 blocks and 6 steals for the Grizzlies. I mean, yeah, they got more assists than them. They somehow got out rebounded, but I think a lot of that, like, the Thunder are not a high volume. They'll shoot a lot of threes, but it ends up being like a lot more layups and twos and stuff. They took 103 shot attempts. They went 50. They shot 50% from the field, and they also took 9 less free throws than the Grizzlies. So, like, the Thunder are playing like the best team in the West. Right now, I think there are 3 competitors for the championship, or 4, I'd say. It's a fully healthy Mavs team, the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavs. Not in any really order, but I would say right now the 2 that are playing the best are the Thunder and the Cavs. I mean, when you have a performance like this, and he's been doing it quite a lot recently, it's hard to not put SGA as the number 1 contender for MVP. Consistently averaging 31 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, with 2 steals and nearly a block and a half, while shooting 52% from the field. Sure, you can question his free throw merchantness or something, but last week, multiple 40-point performances. He has just been a consistent player, and he's been playing like the best player in the NBA. And the scariest part is they're missing their second best player as of right now. So it's hard to say that they are not going to be one of the best team or one of the top teams in the West. I think they will be. It's just how far are they going to go in the playoffs? Are they finally going to break through the season, make it to the Western Conference Finals, or is it going to be SGA is the new Joel Embiid, where incredibly talented, just can't do enough for his team to get him beyond the Western Conference Finals? For the Grizzlies, I know that they were missing Ja Morant, but I'm not that concerned about them. If you have him in, that probably provides about 20 points more, and then it's a closer game. But if you take away the third quarter, or the second quarter, which they got outscored 42-19, then in reality it's a closer game. And so, big fan of the Grizzlies. I think they're role players. I think their overall team balance is very effective and very strong. But is health going to be the thing that holds them back? If it does, then I'm going to start raising eyebrows and concerns for them. But we shall see. I mean, geez, the Thunder went on a 51-16 run from the end of the first to the end of the second. It's not great for the Grizzlies. And they got outshot in all categories. They turned the ball over more than the Thunder. Overall, just weren't as strong in defending. They had much better offensive rebounding, but the Thunder were just hitting their shots. So, I mean, it is what it is. Game of basketball, it's tough. And I know it's weird for me to say that after a rant that I just made like that for the Celtics, but it is what it is. So, All right. That is the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. We will be back here on Friday for another episode. Until then, please follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram at Talkin' Triple, follow me on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment any suggestions or any questions that you have for me. Yeah. Today's player is, let's go Landry Fields. Shout out Landry. Also shout out Steve Novak. I'll give you a double. All right, everybody. Have a great day. I will see you on Friday for the next one. Jeez. Peace.